Hello, it's Jay here and welcome to another tutorial. In this lesson we're still continuing on with the enemy AI script, and what we're going to learn this time is how to activate and deactivate the finite state machine, and that's going to depend on the player's distance to the enemy. Now, if you remember, when we set up the enemy we attached a sphere collider, and this is what we're going to use to detect if the player is in range. So the finite state machine will become active when the player enters this collider, and it will become deactive when the player exits. And as I explained before, this collider is quite small for example and testing purposes. Your FPS controller must be tagged as player, otherwise this code we're going to import will not work. And with that said, let's go ahead and actually add the code. So I'm going to come here right at the bottom after the dead function, our very last function, and I'm going to create of type private, and it can be of type void because it does not return a value, and we want on trigger enter. We'll open and close brackets, we'll open and we'll close there. So the naming convention I think's pretty self-explanatory. So we're triggering an event upon enter, and we'll come inside the brackets here, and what we're going to do is reference the collider and we'll give it a naming convention. So we'll say this time detect player, and we'll come inside the function here and we'll say if detect player, and we want dot, and we're going to use the compare tag function. We'll open and close brackets and we'll close again, and we can actually open and close there, and we'll come back here and we'll put in the little speech marks and we'll say player. So this is the collider, detect player, as we name it here, and we're going to compare what tag the object that's entered had, and this time we want the tag of player, as we've put here. So if the collider and whatever enters is tagged as player, then we want, and I'm actually going to say enemy state equals, and then we want the name of the script, we want state as we've named it here, and we're going to say initialize, and we'll close the line off there. And this line's just a failsafe, just to make sure that we're going to start at the first block, and then we can actually call start coroutine, and we'll open and close brackets and we'll close the line off, and again we'll come inside the brackets and we'll say FSM, because that is what we've called our finite state machine here. So we'll make sure that we're set to the first function, and then we'll start the coroutine, and that's what switch blocks are. They are coroutines. So with that said, let's put the comments in, and we'll say detects if player has entered the collider, and comments here we'll say then set enemy state to initialize, and the final comment here we'll say start our finite state machine. Now with that said, we need another function to handle when the player exits, so we'll copy this entire block and we'll come just below here and we'll paste that block in. Now we can actually get rid of this line here where we're set to initialize. We don't need that. And here we'll change enter to exit. And we'll change the comments as always. And here where we start coroutine, we want stop coroutine. And again, we'll change the comments. And we'll just save that off there. Now, we're going to test this out in a moment. Now, be aware that the enemy is not going to do anything at the moment because we have no code in our blocks. This is where we're going to handle things like the movement, the audio, is all going to be in these blocks here. So what we're going to do in order to test, we're going to use Debug Logs. So we'll come in here and we'll say debug.log, and we'll say open and close brackets, close the line off, and in here we'll say FSM, we'll put a little hyphen, start, and we'll just copy this line and we'll paste it in here. I'll just get rid of the empty line, and of course we're going to change that to stop. And we'll save it off. Now, even though the enemy is not going to move, in our console now, we should get a message saying that the Finite state machine has started and stopped as we enter and exit the collider. And we can actually just copy this function and we're going to paste it into every single one of our functions here. And we'll just keep going down. 2 more to do, and the final one here. And I'm sure you've guessed what we're going to do. We're going to change all of them to their naming convention. So initialize, idle, run, and we'll just keep going. So impact, and we've got attack here, and we've nearly finished. We'll say strike, and the final one for dead. And again, we'll save this off. Now, we won't be able to test these blocks to begin with, but we will know if the Finite state machine is going to initialize, as it should do on start, because we should get this debug log, even if nothing else is going to happen. So, with that saved off, let's downsize our script and we'll hit play. And we'll walk towards the enemy. And once we enter the collider, as you can see, the logs are now appearing, and if I hit collapse, as you can see, the Finite state machine has started, it's stopped when I exit, and of course the initialize function is working, so we can stop that there, and we can clear the console for now. So we know that it's activating upon enter, it's deactivating on exit, and we are definitely starting with the initialize function as we want. And I think we'll leave it here for this lesson. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you next time, and until then, bye for now.